Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you're here today on this Friday of Ask the Theologian. Welcome. Glad to have you. I decided to look like an old-time accountant today. How's that? I don't know. Is that what an old-time accountant looks like? I just decided it's Friday. I'll not put on the jacket. And good to see everybody. We've got Ontario and Colorado and New Mexico and Wisconsin and Mississippi and Pennsylvania and more Colorado and South Carolina and Moundridge, Kansas, and more Mississippi and Belgium. Just looking good today as we come in. Sorry, I was a few minutes late getting started there. And just the Friday got away from me. That's what happened. Just got away. I don't know why. But welcome. We've got room for your questions today. We'll start here in just a moment with, let's see, where are we going to start? There's two questions. There's a question about Boaz. There's a question about the silence of God without names on them. And then Myra and Matthew and Kelly got your questions up, and we're ready to go. I still have at least one copy of this book, I know. Let's see how many of these do we have? There's 4 of them, ladies and gentlemen. 4 left. 4. And I'm not really planning on getting more. So this is your time, $35.01. That's what a great Christmas gift to get. Just, if nothing else, for the pictures. You got grandkids, you know, especially older grandkids or teenagers. Now, they probably, a few of them might, but most of them probably would not think that's a great gift. But if Grandpa's got it sitting on his coffee table, I guarantee you they're going to look at that book. And they are going to, look, here's the sanctuary, the temple court. It goes through the various places, the chamber of the seals. They're going to look at these pictures, you know. I mean, you ought to have one for your coffee table. I'm just saying, 4 of them left there. Oh, yeah, Bev, that's good. The Al Capone bookkeeper look. That's what it is. It's the Al Capone bookkeeper look I've got on today here. I sort of had forgotten I had this vest. You don't do vests very often, but I forgot. And yesterday I was going through looking for the gray shirt, and I found the gray vest. And I thought, oh, I should wear that again. So there it goes. I'm pretty sure there's a reference that I don't get, but I'm about to learn something. I'm going to check this out. Oh, I should know this. There wasn't a picture on this, but Bartley the Scrivener, A Story of Wall Street. A short story by the American writer Herman Melville, first serialized anonymously in 2 parts in November-December 1853. Issues of Putnam Magazine, reprinted with minor textual alterations in his The Piazza Tales, 1856. I come to you, ladies and gentlemen, today as Bartley the Scrivener. Well, Trent says, a dealer at a casino. Yeah, I don't know how he knows that. Shouldn't be going to casinos and shouldn't be watching those movies. Let's see. Yeah, I need a visor, don't I? Where is a visor? I don't think Frank Needy, the Untouchables. I don't think I would ever do the bow tie thing. there are very few people in the world that can carry off a bow tie. Some of them can. And people who do it well. But I think it's a personality thing. It's more than your looks, it's your personality. You got to have a bow tie personality, and I don't think I have a bow tie personality. Okay. Would you again state, how do we donate to Boaz Shalgi? Yes. I tell you that the easiest way, there's a couple of ways, but the easiest way, if we go to the Randy White YouTube page, but maybe on the other as well, and past live streams, I think if we just go back here, scroll back, oops, I scrolled the wrong way. Where's past live streams? If we find that one with Boaz, where is it? It can't be that old. This is, let's see, is it under live? It should be under live, yeah. In that particular broadcast, there is a, whoops, pushed the wrong button there, didn't I? In that particular broadcast, there is, I'll get us there in a minute. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. There's a link underneath there. Now, here's another way you can do it. You can, I was seeing if it would just come up if we type Boaz, but I don't see it. You can go to randywhiteministries.org, just give a donation. And then, if you will, send an email and say, hey, that donation I just gave is for Boaz Shalgi, and we would be more than happy. I talked to him yesterday, and they're doing well, but wow, unprecedented times over there. And it means absolutely no work for him. So anyway, I should have had him on today. I thought about it, and I let it slip and didn't do it. But yeah, just give a donation to Randy White Ministries, then send an email, randy@randywhiteministries.org, and say, hey, that one was for Boaz. We'll take care of that. Could you please explain your thoughts on the silence of God in this age? An anonymous question that comes in, and yes, certainly something we've talked about before, and so I won't spend just a tremendous amount of time. But if what I would do for the full answer, go to worshipify.com, worshipify.com. I'm having the hardest time getting that switched back and forth. There I am. What I've done at Worshipify right here, in fact, let me just start back from the beginning. Right in the search, type silence. Now, here is my sermon here, Faith, Hope, Love, and Silence. Are we really only left with faith, hope, and charity in this age of the silence of God? I speak about the silence of God there. I notice Pastor Mark Bays, I haven't listened to him, but we should. The Foundational Doctrine, his Foundational Doctrine series, he has one on the silence of God. So there's two pretty good sermons on it. But the silence of God is a theory also that you could find if you go to dispensationalpublishing.com. Perhaps you would order the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, and then up here in the search bar, search box, type silence of God, or even just silence would be sufficient. And then scroll down a little bit. I've got a blog post here, if you just want to read a short one. And then here's the book, The Silence of God, updated for the 21st century reader. You could click on that, and this is for only $13.96. You could get the book. Now, in that particular book, we have updated some of the language just to make it a little easier, and we have included the original. So you can read both, and I notice here we've got even a review by Rev Reeds. You could watch that there and check that out. I think The silence of God solves a lot of problems. What it basically says is that God has given us his word, and he has instituted into creation itself the judgment of right and wrong, and therefore he is not intervening in a supernatural way. This does not mean God is not at work. It just means God is not intervening in a supernatural way in order to change the activities of man, or to judge, or to bless. These things are already worked in, baked in the cake, as we often say. So it really is a very different perspective, but it answers a lot of questions. And I think you would find it's actually not such a shocking thing. You see, Christendom, evangelicalism especially, and the more mystical you get into evangelicalism, the more this is true, it takes the perspective that God has always been working miracles among those who love him. He's been doing them on a daily basis. We have miracles all around us. There's a miracle. Here's a miracle. Look, I had a miracle today. Every little thing is taken as a miracle. I think if you look in the scriptures, there often were scores of years, if not hundreds of years, between God's direct intervention into the lives of mankind. The silence of God is more God's pattern than the direct intervention of God. So it's a rethinking kind of thing. Such an important doctrine. I appreciate you asking about that. And thank you very much. Let's go to Myra up in Wisconsin. And we will... I failed to bring my scripture up here. I gotta get it up because we've got a Bible verse at hand. There we go. Matthew chapter 7. Would you please explain how Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 5 was to the Jews of the time and not to us today? Let's go to Matthew chapter 7. And it has America's favorite scripture, "Judge not, that ye be not judged." And then some additional information. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. With what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. Why beholdest thou the mote that's in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that's in thine own eye? Or wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote that's in thy eye, and behold, the beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam in thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to see the mote in thy brother's eye. Now, this is one of those things that, especially, let's take the whole. I started to say, let's just take the illustration. The famous illustration about the beam and the mote. You've got the mote or the splinter in your eye, but you're noticing the splinter in their eye when you got the beam in your eye. It's a little bit of hyperbole. It's a little bit of humor that is given, a little bit of shock factor that is given there. And I think we would say, yeah, in a principle, as a principle, it probably would be best to take care of your own business before you take care of somebody else's business. And that really is a sense of saying that to borrow from another place of Jesus's ministry, let him who's without sin cast the first stone. That's something that we would say, to use a non-biblical illustration, we sometimes say the finger that is pointing has three fingers pointing back, and it points out this human tendency to point out things in someone else's life that are in your own, even to a worse degree. Can I say something here that I don't think goes against, excuse me, I do not think this goes against this passage. Sometimes the presence of sin, I'll just make this into an example. Let's suppose that I'm an alcoholic, okay? I happen not to be an alcoholic, but let's suppose I am an alcoholic. And I see someone who is going down the wrong path towards alcoholism. And I say, young man, this does not end well for you. Stop it. Go a different direction. Is that fair? Is that legit? I think it is. I think an alcoholic can warn someone who is not an alcoholic. Now, let's put this in a different way. Let's suppose again that I am an alcoholic and that as an alcoholic, I note and I point out, got to get my tie straightened out there. I note and I point out that the preacher over there, he has too much emphasis on money. We're just making it up. That preacher, all he cares about is fancy suits and shiny rings, fancy cars. It's all about the money. Let's assume it's true. There are preachers out there like that. Let's just assume it's all true. Does an alcoholic have the right to point that out? I think so. I think that sin in your life does not prohibit you from being able to make note of sin in someone else's life. Now, I think that ought to be done honestly. Hey, I got my own problems, but because the truth is that we don't want kind of a moral equivalence that only the purist can point out sin. We want a kind of world that sort of deals with things honestly. So maybe, Myra speaks against Randy, and I say, well, Myra, you can't do that because you like Alabama. Crimson Tide. God doesn't even like that. And therefore you have no right. I think it's a misinterpretation of the scripture. And it's one of the things that happens when you sort of apply this in a general, non-specific way. You end up, nobody can point out a mote in the eye unless their eye is completely pure. Now, I think when we come to Matthew chapter 7 and this judge not, the judgment that was given there was not, are you behaving correctly? The judgment is, are you going to be accepted by God? It is an official kind of judgment that holds the keys to the kingdom, not an analysis of who they are, not an inventory of their problems. That may or may not be appropriate. Sometimes I'll see a total stranger, usually when they're younger than me, but I'll see a total stranger and I might point out something good, typically, I saw a guy the other day. I went in a True Value store down in Georgia, and I walked in. I had been to the big box store trying to get a particular screw, and I couldn't find it. It's just a screw I need. That's all I need is a screw. Well, who knew how hard it is to get screws? So I had been to the big box store twice. Finally decided I'm going down here. I will drive 20 miles down to this. I was actually headed to an Ace, and I stumbled upon a True Value before, and I thought, I'm going to pull into this True Value. So I go in. There's a young man. He's sitting there. I don't know. This story might be getting away from where we are. He was right at the entrance. He said, "Hello, sir. How may I help you today?" And I immediately thought, I am in the right place. And I said, "I need a screw like this." He looked at that and he said, "It's a 1/4 inch, 1 to 20 screw. Follow me." And I said, I knew I made the right decision when I turned in here. And he took me to the screw aisle and he said, "Now this one's not going to work because this had something to do with the thread count." And he could just spot the thread count. I don't know. The kid was maybe 25 years old. And so he got me all fixed up, everything I needed. And I said to him, "You know what? You're going to do well in life. You have an owner's mentality." And he said, "Is that good?" I said, "It's absolutely good. You treat this job like you own the place." And then he said, "Well, my dad owns it, and someday I'm going to." And I said, "Well, you're going to do well. You've got that owner mentality. Good for you." Now, on the flip side, I could have, and I think I have from time to time, said, "Hey, young man, if you'll tweak this just a little bit, you'll do a lot better at that." I've been known to teach young cashiers how to count change when they get befuddled. Can I teach you how to do that? Can I do that, especially on the negative side? Can I do that without being perfect? Yeah. Is that judging them? No. It's recognizing you've got something that you could fix here. So I think if we were to dig into it, this judge really goes into the Corinthian passage. I've forgotten the exact reference, but the Corinthian passage where Paul says, "Hey, don't judge." That's ultimately God's issue. The judgment there is not an evaluation of them and pointing out where they may be wrong. The judgment is you're in heaven or you're not in heaven. That's not our role. That was not their role. Now, here's the issue with making it for us. You and I, for the most part, unless you're a Catholic priest, you and I don't determine who's going into heaven and who's not. And we know that. So we take this in the kind of judgment that we do. I judge that he drinks too much. I judge that he gambles too much. I judge that he smokes too much. I'm going to tell him, you shouldn't do that. And he tells me, well, yeah, but you drink too much soda. Oh, yes, you're right. I can't judge until I'm pure as the driven snow. So we take judgment in sort of a personal evaluation rather than in what I think it is here, like to have the gavel and declare a judgment. And probably he's speaking to Pharisees here. Pharisees and Sadducees, the actual religious leadership, which was going to determine. And truth is, they did not have the keys to the kingdom. I hope that helps you out, Myra. Let's go down to Matthew, the Christian curmudgeon. from one curmudgeon to another. Are you calling me a curmudgeon? What is a curmudgeon? A curmudgeon refers to a person, typically an older individual, who is considered to be bad-tempered, miserly, and critical of others. The term is often used in a lighthearted or affectionate manner. I'll take there. To describe someone who's grumpy or irritable, often in a humorous or endearing way. Yes, from one curmudgeon to another. Matthew and I are grumpy, irritable, judgmental, critical of others, in an endearing way. We are curmudgeons. Every now and then, speaking of irritable, grumpy, when one of my grandchildren gets irritable and grumpy, starts whining about everything, crying about everything, having a temper tantrum, I will say, wait, it's my turn now. I want to. It's amazing how they stop immediately and say, oh, it's Pop's turn to be grumpy. And then when I'm done, I'll say, okay, now your turn. And do you know that almost always instantly changes it? They don't want their turn back. They're done with it. Now they're happy. Now they're laughing. It works. For those of you who young children, you can try that. You can try it with teenagers. Teenagers get stomp out of the room sometime. Wait, my turn. Okay, from one curmudgeon to another. What is your view of worshiptainment? It's a coined word. I like it. Worshiptainment. And its accompanying 7-Eleven music. 7 words, 11 verses. Merry Christmas to you and yours, the curmudgeon says. Well, first of all, I guess we should recognize I'm not music. I love good, fine music, but I rarely listen to it. There's a few. I like, I don't know. Every now and then there's a few guys on YouTube I follow that are just like these amazing pianists, and I will turn some of them on every now and then. But I don't do it very much because honestly, I just want to watch them do that, and I can't get anything done if I got that thing on there because I'm like, whoa, that is so impressive. But I am not fueled by, let's say, worship music, whether it's of the modern variety or, praise and worship variety, or it's, old traditional hymns that just, other than sitting at church and singing 3 every Sunday, that is not a fuel for me. I realize that it is for some people. So I don't know that I'm the best, but I would say, I think, let me just speak in a more general way. I think that our society finds too much fuel in music. They get too much of their energy level from music. And I think that it's kind of empty. It's kind of like getting your energy level from cotton candy. It'll do it. It'll boost your energy, but then you long for more. You got to have some more. You want another one. I'm pretty sure that's why these worship songs don't actually have an ending. You just sort of have to fade off because there's something that says, that's not done. I want more. It's an addictive kind of thing. I want more of this. I need that energy fix that it gives me to have this. I know, and I have friends, and I honestly don't get it, that whatever it is we're doing, they will want some music playing. I'm thinking that just drives me crazy. I don't want that music playing. I tend to work in silence. If I'm traveling, I tend to listen to an audiobook. So I'm much more of a silence, thought, word-driven kind of person, which probably then makes a curmudgeon in today's world. Because today's church is driven by, it's the tail that wags the dog. It's driven by the music department, the worshiptainment, as you say. And especially is this true among younger adults. The sad truth is that if you don't have a good praise band today, especially in the city, it does not matter how good your preaching is, how solid your ministry is. Your church will die on the vine. People go to church because of the music program. That is why we're America's greatest tiny church. If you gather the talent, and what churches do is they go out and they hire the talent. They play in the, somewhere on Saturday night. Then they come play at the church. They're hired help, and they sing and they dance and close their eyes, and everything's wonderful. I don't know. My problem with it is, even in evaluating it, I am so much more a thought-driven person. Honestly, I would rather go to a lecture hall and hear a lecture on, 17th century cooking than I would go to a Christian concert. Give me a lecture any day. So that's what fuels me. And sadly, I think within the church today, there are very few places for people like me who are fueled by that. It's a dime a dozen to find places that give the fuel of, I don't know, titillating songs. That's all out there. You can find that in any town, anywhere. But find someone who wants to go by the book and the brain. So my view of worshiptainment is it's giving the crowd what they want. And that is what the crowd wants. It's giving the crowd what they want. I wish our society would develop. I don't know where we got to the point we are today, where the music and the presentation is far more important than the content. But I see it in all aspects of the church. You take vacation Bible schools today. When many of us, curmudgeons, were growing up, vacation Bible school, they didn't have 15 seconds thinking about what's our theme going to be this year. And if they had had 15 seconds, the pastor would have said, "Why did you waste 15 seconds on the theme?" The theme is Vacation Bible School. It was driven by a different thing. Today, it's the theme. Because the theme makes the postcards bring the kids. It's not driven by knowledge and content. You got to have the theme, and does everything integrate with the theme? There is so much time spent on that. And it's true in Sunday school. We used to call it Sunday school. I think it's illegal to call it that anymore. Worship services. you, you know the number of, what would we call it if we're looking, the number of, I'll call it prepackaged sermon series. Let's just type that. Prepackaged sermon series. Let's say for Christmas, since it's Christmas time. Here we go. Sermon series kit. The best Christmas ever. Ministry pass, Christmas sermon series, new ideas, top 10 Christmas sermons. If you go into this, you're going to Christmas sermon, God's greatest gift. You just download your sermon here. But what you get into if you go in on this is you literally, there it is, you buy the box. The best Christmas ever, 4-week Advent series kit. Buy now, $59.95. Light at the end of a tough year. You get 4 customizable sermons, 4 sermon video bumpers, 5 promotional images for social media, 5-minute countdown video, weekly small group questions, promotional kit shared on Facebook or Instagram, presentation slide deck, sermon series planning guide. There you go. You get all this. The kit gives you everything you need to plan and host a powerful Advent series. You can watch some of the videos there. You know, there they got the Instagram thing. And it's all over. And they'll have one for the first of the year. They'll have one for, Mother's Day, whatever. That's part of Worshiptainment too, is let's package this in such a pretty way that it doesn't really matter that I don't have anything to say. I just downloaded it. Thanks. I'll have to look up Anthony Berger. Is that how you pronounce it? B-E-R-G-E-R. Berger, perhaps. Best Christian pianist I've ever heard. Deceased now, but I'll have to look that up. Thanks. Okay. Lots of stuff there about worshiptainment. Let's go to Kelly in Pennsylvania. What do you believe is the greatest ecclesiastical challenge today? Greatest pastoral challenge is when you wear a vest is getting that tie in the right place. Does that bug anybody besides me? There we go. By ecclesiastical, we mean church challenge, church-based challenge. We've addressed the worshiptainment issue. Let me speak on a little different issue. I think the greatest ecclesiastical challenge today, setting aside the fact that, but this might be the greatest challenge, so I'll go ahead and mention it. It goes with worshiptainment. Setting aside the fact that we have a society that is not interested. Very few in our society feel any kind of need for the ecclesia. So, I can just see this in the 30 years of my ministry. It used to be easy. I remember my mentor, Jack Riddle Hoover, pastored a nice church in Texas for about 30 years. Brother Jack, we called him. I remember sitting in a staff meeting because I served on staff with him for a few years. sitting in a staff meeting, and it was, I don't know, October or so. And we were talking about doing something, I don't even remember, some deal. But I remember him saying, whatever this was, if it can't be done in October, it can't be done. Now, what he was referring to is the fact that October was in the ecclesiastical cycle. It was high mark. This used to be true. They're back in school. They're settled in. September's kind of a little, but by September, man, you got everybody coming. October was the month to do church things back in the day. Yeah, that's when if you wanted a crowd, if you want to do the high attendance Sunday, you do it in October. I promise you, you look back towards church history stuff, recent church history, you're going to find they had the revival in October. They had the Pack-a-Pew in October. They had the high attendance Sunday in October. Everything where they wanted October was the month to do it. There's not a month to do it now. There's maybe a few months not to do it, but there's not really a month to do it. There's not a time when, everybody kind of naturally gets back and here they're in church. So we have a society that is not even thinking about going to church. The last piece of it, I would say, is Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, society kind of thinks about coming to church. And they come and they pack the house for one service. You've got them for 45 minutes. There you go. It's not even really true in a lot of parts of America. It's not even true on Easter. Easter may or may not be a good attendance. Who knows? Probably your church people are going to come on Easter, which is going to help a little bit. But general society's not really thinking, oh, it's Easter. I got to go down to C.R. Anthony and get me a new tie and vest and a bonnet for my baby. Get to church. They're not thinking that. So dealing with the fact that the church today has a product that nobody in society wants to buy, that's a huge issue. That is one of the reasons why I think so many pastors quit. Because if they came out of the big box seminary, out of the denominational program, out of the church growth movement so much pushed and promoted the idea that, you go and you have high attendance Sunday, last Sunday of October, and everything's going to be good. You can have bigger attendance than ever before. And then it doesn't happen and they feel like a failure. They can't do anything to get more people to come to that church. And they quit. Now, this feeds into what I was going to say is the greatest ecclesiastical challenge today. This is not, a local church may not be sensing it right now, but they should be. Every single local church should be considering this. The greatest ecclesiastical challenge today is there is nobody to be your next pastor. In fact, I'll even add to it. 98% of the time, you don't want the guy you got either. He's so worthless. As someone here says, I'll protect the guilty. I have no need for a church, at least anything around here. I don't blame you. You listen to that dumb music and then hear an even dumber sermon? It's like Dumb and Dumber hour. Why am I going to do that? So leadership is the greatest ecclesiastical challenge today. Denominational leadership is laughable. Embarrassingly laughable. Local church leadership, about the same. Obviously you got a little random. There's a good guy here or there. But even the churches with a good guy in them, who's going to be next? There's a church not far from here that I've tried to encourage and help a little bit. Used to run 150, 200 people. Now it runs a dozen. And the reason, one of the reasons they run a dozen, one is society. The other is they couldn't find a pastor. So they got a guy who was bad. He stayed 3-4 years, and then they got another bad guy, and then they got another bad guy, and then they got another bad guy, and then they got another bad guy. Why go and support that? You know, unless you just have some asceticism or something that says, oh, I should go for penance today. Finding a pastor who even knows what exegetical Bible teaching is. I wouldn't be surprised if in many towns you could go to 20, 25 churches and not get a single exegetical sermon. So I think dealing with the fact that society has walked away, and then dealing with the fact that you can't find a pastor. Huge. I don't think finances are the greatest ecclesiastical challenge. Obviously, finances have gone down, but, you know, if church would just be a little creative, they could figure that part out. I'm not big on this, but if nothing else, many of these have nice facilities that they could rent out in various ways and pay their bills. There's ways they could make it financially, but you can't make it without a pastor. Hope that's helpful. Michael with the Cucamonga question. Thank you, Michael. So good to see you. Many people say that as a Christian, you need to have a relationship with God. Bearing in mind the silence of God, what kind of relationship can one have? Would you say that you have a relationship with God? I like that question, Michael. It's a little bit of a curmudgeon question, but those of us who are curmudgeons are, what did we say? Grumpy and irritable, but humorous, in a humorous and endearing way. You get to the heart of an issue. If God is not looking over the edge of heaven, saying, what's going on in Rancho Cucamonga today? I wonder, God says. I wonder if Michael's going to call. Oh, I had an appointment with Michael at 6 a.m. So far I look down and I see in Cucamonga, he's just a-sleeping. He's not come to his appointment yet again today. That's not the view of God I take. I take a view of God, sovereign God, certainly knowing of the activities on the world, is all-knowing. In which he says, Michael, go do whatever Cucamongans do. Do it well. Whatever you do, do it. Do it to the Lord. Rather than, and he walks with me and he talks with me and he tells me I'm his own. That's a shocking kind of thing for a preacher to say. This idea of a relationship with God. You know, you get like Jeremiah 29:13, you'll seek me, you'll find me when you find me with all your heart. James, come near to me, draw nigh unto God, and he will draw nigh unto you. I think of Matthew 11, come unto me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden. But these relationship verses, are kind of directed towards Israel, inviting Israel into a relationship with God? John 15, that's going to be an Israel thing too. I'm the vine, my Father's the husbandman, you know, abide in me and I in you. Let's take John 15:4 and let's pull up the cross references here for John 15:4, abide in me, and see if we can come up with something that we would say, oh yeah, that says relationship with God. Here's what I'm wondering, and I think this is what the Cucamonga question is wondering too. This thing about having a relationship with God, is it created or is it taught in the Bible? Did the denominations create this, or did the Bible teach this? So abide in me and I in you. That sounds like a relationship. Let's see. Matthew 7:17, every good tree bears good fruit, bad tree, nothing there. So then, just as you have received Christ Jesus as Lord, continue to live your lives in him. I've got to talk to Nathan about this because it's supposed to be doing King James and it's not. Rooted and built up in him, strengthened in the faith as you were taught, overflowing with thanksgiving. That's Colossians 2:6. Let's go there. It's good, but it's not really that relationship. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. Again, pardon the bad translation there. But that's, if the charge is having a relationship with God is not found in the Scripture, defending yourself against that might be hard. Colossians 2:6, let's go there in the King James. As ye therefore received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk ye in him. And I suppose walk ye in him, if we're going to call that a relationship, walking being rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith as you have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving, beware lest any man spoil you through the philosophy and vain deceit. This walking in him, walking in Christ, seems much more intellectual to me than relational. Do we need the warm fuzzies of, remember the old bumper sticker, you know, God is my co-pilot? Seems like we got him in the wrong spot, but nonetheless, God is my co-pilot. I've got an appointment with God. I haven't mentioned Psychobabble Friday, but is it psychobabble? Do we feel, there's this psychological thing that goes on us that we like to feel close to somebody? Nothing totally wrong with that, but I'm not sure this relationship what is it? I think relationship, you'd have to say that's personal connection. That's hard with the silence of God. A transformation that takes place. That I think you could get from knowing the word and will of God. let's take, I don't know, what's his name? Euclid? See, the father of geometry? Euclid? Would I say, if I was good at geometry, which I'm not, but if I was good at geometry, would I say, if I just feel a close relationship with Euclid? I feel kind of, wearing a vest today. I feel a close relationship with Harry S. Truman. Truman and I, we're tight. Maybe there's a psycho thing that goes on there that says, yeah, okay, I'm related to Euclid. I visit with Euclid each morning. I visit with Harry S. Truman when I look at my wardrobe. Harry, what would you do? No, what do you do? Maybe, and I've never had this question. I will ring the bell. Haven't done that in a while. I think that we should investigate, is a relationship with God biblical, or is that just talk that makes us feel good? I'm saved by him. I'm sealed in his spirit. I'm guided by his word. It's like the ones who insist that they get things by direct revelation. I don't need a direct revelation. I got his Bible. It's able to make one perfect, thoroughly equipped to every good work. Would I say I have a relationship with the Bible? It's probably not the words we would use. God doesn't whisper sweet nothings in my ear, give me a warm feeling. Niacin does. I take niacin, it gives me a warm feeling. So let's question that. Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, Daryl says, if I lived in Taos, I'd go there for men's breakfast and potlucks. Surely you would go for the preaching too, right? But that's where relationships are. At men's breakfast and potlucks. By the way, Sunday's potluck. It's time for you all to drive in. You can be here. It's always a nice time of fellowship. Maybe the sermon will be good. Maybe not. Who knows? But the food will be good. And I cook men's breakfast myself. We make the hash browns, we do the eggs, sausage. Cooking breakfast easy, it's not really that big a deal, but. Okay. I'm out of time. Sunday, Queen Isabella I in our Kingdoms of the Cross. A lot of Inquisition stuff going on there. Her husband was King Ferdinand the Second, I think. Then we'll do David. He's escaped out of the window. He's a fugitive now. We'll pick up with him in 1 Samuel chapter 19. And then then we'll go into the preaching. Daryl says I could go for the preaching to catch up on my nap time. I don't mind that ministry. I feel like, if people go to sleep on me and preaching, I feel like they needed it. God bless them. They're going to wake up refreshed. If I can help out with that, then it's good. Good word from Stephen. I got to quit. I think it's natural for teenagers to want to feel the presence of God like they feel their boyfriend or girlfriend. So they love romantic Christian music, mystic Watchman Nee, deeper life. We've almost trained them to be this way. We've not trained teenagers to be mentally driven. We've trained them to be emotionally driven. And the problem is you can't one-up it. And the kids get to the point where, we're done. It's not one-upped anymore. I'm out of here. If they were intellectually driven, I think that would be different. Because there's so much more to learn. Excellent. Thanks for being here, everybody. Praying for John in recovery in the hospital here. Our friend in West Virginia, thank you. Praying for Shirley and Bob out in Ridgecrest, California, the loss of their son. And praying that each one of you have a delightful week as well. RandyWhiteMinistries.org. Got this book right here. I was seeing what I got left here. But I lost my page. The Holy Temple in Jerusalem. And any donations this month, I send you this book free, The Rightly Divided Gospel. You can check all that out. Really a good Christmas gift. There's 4 of them. 4 left. That's it. Thanks, everybody. You all take care. I will see you soon. God bless.